What it do, homies? Welcome back to another episode of Sorry If This Isn't Landing Properly. I'm your host, Kuh-Dee-Juh, and I'm excited to be here today. I'm happy to be in this moment because it took us a while to get here. And since we're here at the top of the episode, I'm just going to say, wherever you're tuning in, first and foremost, thank you. Blessings, because I know there's a lot of options out there. So making an intentional moment to tune in with me, I'm so appreciative of that. But while you're here, before you kick your feet up and get settled in for today's episode, I want you to follow the episode, follow the show. Because honestly, as much as I am going to work to get this podcast on a dependable and reliable schedule, right now we are just not there. So if you subscribe, if you follow the show, you'll be updated when there's new episodes that drop. So please go and subscribe, follow. And if you like it, hey, put a little review. Let me know. It don't even matter if you do a review. Hit me up. Tell me, gas me up. I don't care. Wherever you do it, I'm tuning in, I'm listening, I hear you, and I'm appreciative of you. So we're going to get right into it. As I said, I'm thankful that we here. I'm thankful to be recording this episode. And while we're here, I don't know who needs to hear this message, but here it is. You are not behind. You're just moving at your own pace. Do you hear me? Holla if you hear me. I'm going to be curled up in here. You are not behind. You are just moving at your own pace. And honestly, I needed to hear that message. I needed to tell myself that. And it was because this episode was hard to get to episode 3. I wasn't planning for me to talk about this topic. I had some other topics in mind, but I was struggling. I was struggling with solidifying a theme, creating an outline, thinking about what the episode can be about. And I realized these episodes aren't always going to be about things that I've conquered, things that no longer faze me. It can't be. If this is to be a journal and to talk about me and my progress, sometimes progress is in progress, literally. And so it felt right to get into what I'm struggling with right now. And what I'm struggling with is this idea and this pressure to keep up, which I came to the realization of once I was walking and talking with myself. So I'm going to roll a clip of a recording that I had a few days ago. Anyone with sensitive ears or sounds, please just proceed with cautions as you will hear cars and street noises in the recording. If you need to, feel free to skip ahead about a minute. All right, roll the clip. I feel like a hypocrite. I feel like an imposter because how I'm over here trying to tell a podcast, people here who listen to me, what's going on, how to deal with this. But I guess I ain't never said that I got it all figured out, that I don't deal with nothing, that I'm not in the process, and my work is still in progress on me. But it's like we need a space for that duality to live. Like, yeah, I got experience and I got wisdom based on the things I went through, but that don't mean that I'm not human and I don't continue to go through things or struggle with things, be challenged by things, get upset, sad by things, get taken out by things, crash out about things. Shit, I crashed out in Aldi a week ago. I crashed out in Aldi because I walked 4 miles to get there, and when I got there, they didn't have the chips that I wanted. Like, temper tantrum. The only thing I didn't do was scream and kick and hit at the floor. But I sure did sit on that floor. I literally slid down onto the floor and sat there. I wanted to cry out in frustration. I even had the clerk go look and told him, I don't need you to go look in the aisles because I already did that. I need you to go check the back, boy. That's what I need you to do. So I'm not above having those moments and having things happen in my life that will cause me to crash out just because I got this podcast. If anything, finding a way to share that and not just the things that I've figured out, but share the things that I'm still struggling with, that still haunt me right now. I think that's where, connection can really grow. So I got to remember that. I want to remind myself of that and challenge myself to do that, to be that, to give that, to portray that. And ultimately, that's what I realized. These are my expectations to create this podcast. So all direction will come from me. It's no one forcing me, twisting my arm. But am I doing what I need to do? Or am I giving myself an out? Like sometimes giving yourself tough love or holding your hand and walking yourself through it. Sometimes we know when we BSing, is all I'm trying to say. And if I am creating the pressures and it's my own expectations, why am I rushing? I want you to think about, what is something you've been rushing to do, forcing yourself to do, or even judging yourself for not doing it, quote unquote, fast enough. When I think about expectations and the pressures to keep up, I think of this scene from The Incredibles. In The Incredibles 1, Mr. Incredible, Daddy Incredible, he was in Edna's lair, I believe. He's running down this runway, and I haven't seen The Incredibles in a minute, so pardon me if I mess the scene up a little bit. But he's running down this thin runway, and these like magnetic balls are shooting out everywhere at him, and they're sticking to him. And he's strong, Mr. Incredible. And so if one hit him, he's still going. He's still full speed ahead. Few more, knock his legs down. They heavy, and he trying, and he's still fighting. But eventually, they just keep piling until they besiege him. They suffocate him in the weight. What has been keeping me up is this idea of not doing enough with my podcast. So expectations to keep up. Sometimes that can be purely biological pressures to keep up. Oh, I'm aging. I'm reaching a certain limit. I have to hurry up before my biological clock expires. Maybe family pressures to keep with family traditions, to go to a certain university or a career field. Societal pressures of what it means and looks like to be a woman and a man. A big part of society's only gender options. Financial expectations and pressures. Can you live a quality of life that is suitable for all humans? And in some ways, financially, you may not be able to do that. The time it takes to master something, to go after it, be bad at it, practice, learn, go through all the iterations before you master something. And sometimes our biggest, strongest, and most defeating is our own expectations we put on ourselves. Because I'm doing it right now for my podcast. Getting to episode 3, I felt like I have to always make it worthy to someone else, not just myself. And the fact that I just mentally, emotionally had so many things going on that I wasn't releasing. It was happening and I was bottling it up. And it was starting to take over me. It was starting to consume me. And that took away from me wanting to work on the episode or feeling like I could focus on it. It was my own expectations of myself. Because nobody is forcing me to do a podcast. I decided to do this. And when it comes to these pressures, once we're able to acknowledge where the pressure is coming from, then time for the pros and cons list. Is it worth keeping up with these expectations, or do they need to be reconfigured in some way? So I had to make a pros and cons list to understand if my expectations were worth living up to or not. All right, you struggling with the next episode. You want to stay on a consistent basis. How do you do that? What are the pros of just getting the episode out? You can stay on base. You can stay on the timeline. The con is you might just start putting episodes together, not thinking fully through the plan of really releasing a story. And that's what you want to do. Another con that I have to consider in this situation is, what if you don't produce the episode? What if you just stop right now? I don't have a big following. I do hope at the end of the day someone is listening. But if it's just myself, that's okay. I need to listen to myself more. We all probably do. So you could dish out some advice and be like, when was the last time I actually stood on that business right there? But the con to myself, what if you don't produce this show? The drawback would be not showing myself that I can go after something that I want for me, for my own pleasure and enjoyment, but also for my growth, my mental growth, my emotional growth. Creating this podcast, not only is it to help me understand what I'm going through, put it into words, but it's helping me speak honestly. And now that I've started the podcast and I've reflected on episodes and how I would like to improve, I find myself watching and listening to sports commentators. Especially right now, I'm really big into the WNBA. So I watch a lot of games, and the back and forth, the way to carry a conversation. What are the conversation etiquette sometimes? And just being your authentic self and being able to respond in a conversation, because I'm a thinker. So it takes me a while to process things, which doesn't always lend itself well to a conversation, because I'll get stuck in thought. Literally. So if I didn't do this podcast, it's not to say that I wouldn't be aware of those things and seek those out in different situations, but I wouldn't really be able to put it to the test for myself. And right now, we're solo. We solo dolo on this podcast. But that might not always be the case. Maybe there will be in the near far future a guest. Man, I'm not making any like, ooh, here go a big announcement. It's just maybe. So how to banter? Cause you say one wrong thing to me, I'm shutting down. I'll just play it. But nah, it would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't do this. Even when I'm unsure, I don't know if this gonna land properly, but it's something that I have to say. It's something that I need to do. And just like with the situation I was going through when I felt like I couldn't really focus on creating this episode, the emotional baggage that I was carrying around that was starting to weigh on me mentally, I realized I needed to talk about it. I let it out. I spoke it out loud to someone else, and that's done wonders. Not to say that they've been able to heal me or alleviate my stress and pain, but I allowed myself a little bit more space within so that I can continue to be present in the moment. And all of that, all of that goes back to showing me why I need to do this. The pros of just taking my time and seeing how it unfolds. I'm asking myself right now, why are you rushing? If I believe my timing is divine, everything that's meant to be for me will come to me in the right time. I would never be too early or too late for what's meant for me. Hey, can you dig it? And honestly, this helped me. This helped me because the podcast is about what I go through in life. It's not just about the things I went through, but the things I'm going through. If I were to plan everything out to a T of what's supposed to happen in my life, or at least in the terms of how I am to achieve a goal that I'm working towards, I don't allow for any of the randomness of life to happen. Randomness in joyful moments, in happy moments, in comical moments. You miss all of that because none of that is on your bingo card. Imagine being stuck in traffic. You didn't plan this. I gotta be to this location at this time, and this traffic is gonna make sure that I don't do that. But because you stuck in traffic, you done had a mini concert in your car, listening to your old school jams. Think about that high school playlist you used to have to pump you up before a sports game. And because I just moved to a new state, new city, new town, I love the randomness of talking to somebody in my community. Whether I'm at the store, we're crossing the street at the crosswalk together, we're at an event. Those moments of connection, especially because I live by myself, especially because I moved here and didn't know anyone, they feel all the more joyous. And I couldn't have expected that. I'm not always thinking that when I'm stopping to get gas, I'll stop and talk to somebody for 20 minutes. But randomly one day, me and Santa Claus, we were at the gas station at the same time. And I started chatting him up. I mean, he literally was dressed like Santa Claus. And I was too, actually, minus the beard. I was like, did you dress like me? Like, this is kind of awkward now. And I could not have planned that, but it was perfect. It fills me up to this day. Those little random moments of life that you witness, you are a part of, that matters. That is such a big part of this pie chart of life. How you categorize it is up to you, but it's a huge part of that pie chart of life. So when I say the truth is, you're not behind, you're just living life, that is a continuation, that is an embodiment of my word of the year. So in the last episode, when I talked about eventually, that's showing up here. That word eventually, it allows for patience, it allows for possibility and trust. Trust that it'll all work out. It's all doing what it's supposed to do in order to get you to where you're supposed to be at the exact moment you're supposed to be there. And think about it. Something and everything in the universe is working alongside you, in tandem with you, to ensure that you don't make it prematurely or too late to what's meant for you. All you gotta do is keep doing you. Trust in you. And know that progress does not have to be loud or linear to be achieved. Yeah, let that sink in. I wanted you to let that sink in. Progress does not have to be loud or linear to make waves. A few days ago, I came across a Canva document I made 3 years ago. 3 years ago. You know what this Canva document was? Cover art for a podcast. Possible titles. 3 years ago. That's pandemic time. We in the crib, we ain't doing nothing. 3 years ago, I thought about starting a podcast. This idea, it's been brewing. It's been brewing inside of me. And yet, 3 years ago, I didn't get the microphone out and start recording. Now, I probably got recordings on my phone from back then, but to make an intentional step towards recording something, I didn't do that then. But I had the idea. The drive probably wasn't all the way there. The consistency wasn't there. The confidence wasn't there. But that didn't stop me from talk about it. So many of my people, they knew this was something that I wanted to do. And it's finally here. It's finally here where I'm making the episodes. That doesn't take away what I did 3 years ago, what I did a year ago, 6 months ago. I was I was taking steps. Whether it was 6 steps, 27 steps, it was steps that I was taking. And it could have been steps in circles. It could have been steps that was straight. It could be straight downward. Or it could be an incline. Progress is progress. As long as you keep moving, you in motion. But because we may be looking for the progress to be linear, we might overlook signs that shows us that we're growing because it doesn't look like progress. And as it stands for the podcast, when I started to question myself, I started to overlook the progress that was still being made. Whether I get the episode out on time or not, being able to reflect and understand where I was in that exact moment, the situation that I was in, ultimately became the episode. We're here right now. Very meta experience. The fact that I questioned it and I took a step back shows that progress is still happening, even though I took a few steps back, which just allows for you to see the bigger picture. Think about a painter. I watched this show called Portrait Artist of the Year. 9 artists painting live. They'll be sitting at their easel for hours. And then eventually they'll step back. You know, they do that little eye thing with the finger. They need to take a step back from not only their painting, but the subject. Ensure that the measurements that they have are right. Seeing it from all angles. And even when they get to points where it's not looking like it's going to get there, but eventually it does. So me taking a step back and acknowledging where I was in that moment allow for me to breathe. Progress is still happening. These many moments, I had to check myself. Like, just because you started this podcast, you think you ain't going to ever go through anything anymore? If you stop going through things, then you stop living. Or you stop growing. So in order to grow, you got to go through the things. Going through the things is what's made you arrive to this point of recording. So it stands to reason that everything you go through, you experience is a little piece of what you ultimately share here. Look, progress don't always have to look linear for it to matter. I went on a walk today. I did not know where I was. And I told myself, you'll be able to figure it out. You don't know these streets. You've never been in this area of town. But you'll figure it out. You do not need to pull your phone out. And the way that I started was not the way that I ended that walk. But I kept my eyes and ears alert. I trusted my gut. And I also recognized things that I had seen before. I just needed to relax myself enough and tell myself that you got it. You know what you're doing, even if you don't know exactly where you are. And best believe I made it out without having to look at a GPS coordinate and just enjoying how subtle things took me by and by. By this building, by this Linden Library, by this bridge. I eventually got back to my car. And when you look at my Map My Walk app, I probably went in some circles a few times. I walked on the street, got halfway there, thought about turning around, did turn around part way through, but then went back. Progress was not linear, but by the end of it, I still made it to my destination and I got the walk in. So I think we batting 100. Is that a stat? Because I'm batting 100 for sure. So sometimes we can overlook progress when it's not linear. And in order to combat that, we have to work on reframing the narrative. What does that mean? Reframe the narrative. This narrative that we're not doing enough to keep up. This narrative that we have to live up to expectations. Familial, financial, biological, societal, self imposed, whatever these expectations and limitations are, we have to reframe that narrative. And it all starts by acknowledging where you are. Where am I at right now? It's like opening up your Maps app and just seeing you are here right now. It don't matter where you was trying to go. And that's what a lot of this is how can we be honest with ourselves? Remove all the layers, all the smooth talking, the finessing, and be real. Maybe I just need to work through some uncomfortability. Just acknowledge where you are. Acknowledge that. Then we can move on. Moving on might look like clarifying the goal. What is it that you're trying to do? Maybe you knew at the beginning. Maybe it shifted. Maybe you've learned some things. And that's okay. For me, that clarity came in the sense of it's not about quantity. It's about the quality of the episode. Yes, the podcast is called Sorry If This Isn't Landing Properly. Because I know I can babble. I can talk in circles to find the point, why it makes sense and why I'm talking about it. But I want to create a concise message. I want it to make sense. I want it to be actionable. That takes time to reflect and understand where I'm at in order to move forward with clarity. Beyond clarifying your goal, beyond acknowledging where you are. Caring for yourself is the most important thing. I experience a lot of anxiety, and I have to tell myself that anxiety can be a good sign. And here's how. Just follow me. In your body, you can have the same response, the same physical response to something that you fear and something that's exciting. Take my recent move, for example. I moved to Morgantown, West Virginia. Do you know where that is on the map? Kudos to anybody who genuinely can, because I couldn't. I could not even conceptualize what Morgantown, West Virginia looked like until I got here. And let me tell you, I didn't see this place until I moved to this place. Signed lease before I even stepped foot in the state. But it was exciting. It was an opportunity that I discovered and I pursued and I made happen. And mind you, I moved from Atlanta, Georgia to Morgantown, West Virginia. Stark differences, let me tell you. I was excited, but it's also nerve-wracking as hell. Imagine trying to tell many of people, where you going? What's in West Virginia? Where that's at? I don't know how to answer these questions. I barely know, baby. Don't ask me too many times or I'm going to start questioning it myself. I knew enough and it felt right to me, but the logical part of me did worry. Even the political side of me worried. You're going to a place that's very different from where you currently live. Is this what you really want to do? Does that make sense when you've started to build a community here? You're not a native of Atlanta. You just moved here not too long ago. And you want to give all of that up for the unknown of this random place you've never been to. But What is life if not with a little razzle dazzle? So I just got to keep things interesting, I guess. So I was a little nervous and excited. That all culminated into anxiety. But I knew myself well enough to know, and I've shown myself that, Kuh-Dee-Juh, you've made it through everything you've been through. And guess what? You've never let yourself down. This will be no different. If anything, it'll just show you a new aspect of yourself. Honestly, talking to myself just like that, showing myself, putting it right in front of my eyes, that helps me reframe the narrative. The narrative that allowed the fear to creep in a little too far. Because again, I saw this opportunity and I pursued it. I wasn't afraid when I had nothing to lose, but now I'm afraid because there are stakes, high stakes. Again, I built a community here. Is it worth maybe severing some ties? Because even with the best laid plans, you're not always able to keep up with all of the people that you've met and built a relationship with once you move. I know that from experience. That doesn't mean that I don't carry those people with me and remember all the moments that we share, but it's hard. So then fear creeps in when a person reminds me that I don't know what West Virginia looks like. I don't know how people in this town that I'm moving to vote. I don't know what the demographics are. But when that fear starts to creep in, what can I do? I can do research. I can ask questions. And I can say, maybe I'm unsure how to answer your question, but I don't have to carry the fear with me. Assuming the superhero pose and telling myself I am brave, I am worthy, and I'm gonna get it. The fear might still be there, the nervousness might still be there, but the moments where I remind myself of who I am and what I'm capable of, I reframe the narrative that I have to move in a sense of fearfulness. It's challenging, and I will not lie. In that first week, I cried, and I'm like, Kuh-Dee-Juh, what are you doing? But even when I cried and I questioned it, I also looked at where I was, and I was like, you remember when this was just a thought, an idea, something that excited you a little bit? Well, you're here. Everything isn't meant to be easy and smooth. Redirecting comes with allowing myself the time to understand what I'm feeling, then reminding myself of the strength that I have. How do I talk to myself? How can you talk to yourself to let yourself know that it's okay? What I found myself saying to myself, I said, self, myself said, huh? And I said, yo, the truth is, you're not behind. You are just living life. As we reframe the narrative from not living up to expectations that aren't deserving to be put on us, we have to find a way and we have to challenge ourselves to reclaim the joy, reclaim our own joy and trust the process. Trusting your own rhythm, trusting the knowledge of your divine timing, that is what builds confidence. So taking more time to reflect and then celebrate. Celebrate these things. Yeah, you made this goal for yourself. Nobody's forcing you to do it. That don't mean you don't need to clap for yourself. That don't mean you don't deserve a party or a job well done, a pat on the back. Whatever it is that you want. I work for a nonprofit organization and we work with students on the spectrum. When the students have completed a workshop and they have presented all of their creations, the last question asked to each student, and probably the most important one, is how would you like to celebrate? Some go with round of applause, jazz hands, maybe a job well done, maybe hug yourself. For me, starting this podcast, this episode, it was a struggle. The topic came hard. I didn't know how to deal with my own expectations, and I had a lot of emotional buildup. And yeah, I made it through because I'm here, right here with y'all, recording this. That means that's a job well done. So, how would I like to celebrate? When I end this recording, I am going to dive dive between the pages of this new book I have. I've been antsy to read this book. And I said, you will not crack a page, read a summary, a review until you get this podcast done. Not to punish myself, but to reward myself. And again, I will say this is a job well done. So remember, you're not behind. You're just living life. So get that journal out. Start tracking them goals. What do you want to chase? Maybe you are rushing or forcing some things or judging yourself for not doing it at the pace and timing set by expectations. And that's okay because you have the ability to reframe the narrative that you tell yourself. You're able to just be real and honest with yourself by saying where you are right now, asking yourself, what do you need, and giving yourself more credit for what you've achieved. So I'm going to say peace here because I feel like I've gotten what I needed to out of this. And I hope you have too. Until next time, let me know, what projects are you working on? What is that thing that's got you so excited you cannot put it down? Leave me a comment, DM me, send me a voice note. Shit, write me a letter. I don't even care if you think about it in your head, think that you responded to me and told me what you was working on and you didn't. Or if you just told another friend. It don't gotta be me, but talk to somebody, even if it's yourself. Until next time, homies. Peace.